This video on the Mine Simulator TMS will cover another section of the TMS input spreadsheet, and in this section or video we'll be discussing the report specification. To get to the reporting specification sheet from the main menu, you go into the Generals tab and then go into Reports. The spreadsheet now is just pre-processing some information, getting lists of trucks or fixed plant which you may want to specify in your actual reports. So this is the report sheets. So all the information in blue is about each individual report, and this information over here in green are things you can change. So the reports are split up into general reports, reports on mobile equipment, reports on fixed plant, reports on the railway, reports on shipping and ports, and simulation trace files. So for each report you can specify a report interval. So in this particular operational trace file, in this case we're reporting it every hour. If you have a 0 there, that means the simulation won't generate the report. So in this case, the simulation won't generate this phase mining rates log report. So if you want to specify the report to be every shift, you can put 12 hours in there. So then this report is generating a status every 12 hours. If you want to do it every minute, you just put 1 divided by 60, representing 1/60th an hour. So this report interval is an hour. So therefore it's going to report this every minute throughout the simulation. I'll just set it back to 1. You can also specify for each report when you want the report to start in the simulation and end. So in this case it starts at 0 hours, I mean right at the start of the simulation, and the report continues on to the end of the simulation. At the moment we've got one iteration for 1 year in this report. So this report's going to go for the whole time. If you want, you can just start this reporting from 1,000 hours in the simulation to end it after 2,000 hours if you want. So just put that thing in there. Other reports, like mobile equipment reports, you can actually specify, you can have a report on all the data, or you can specify an individual here, an individual truck. We have in this particular simulation. Or you can, these are the loading units you have in the simulation, or you can report on the grader or the dozer or what have you. You can report an individual piece of equipment, mobile equipment. And as far as the fixed plant, in this one you can report on individual pieces of fixed plant, you know, the truck dump, the Benny plant, run-of-mine stockpiles, crude oil dumps, any of the stockpiles you want in this particular simulation. Or in this particular simulation we've got a whole pile of a number of conveyors and a stack of reclaimer and ship loaders and stuff. So you can report on individual ones if you want. Now I'll just go through and summarise each of these reports. Now the operational trace log. This is a trace of the operation in respect to the weather, what's happening with the weather. It tells you how many trucks are operating, how many trucks are on standby, how many trucks are in maintenance, how many trucks are broken down, etc. And the same with diggers and front-end loaders and LHDs, etc. So it gives you an idea, a snapshot every hour, if that's the report individual asks for, what's happening to each piece of equipment, each fleet of equipment. It also tells you what the current average haul distance is, etc. And it also gives you a log for each piece of fixed plant, how many tonnes have gone into that fixed plant over the hour, how many tonnes have come out of that fixed plant, the status of the fixed plant. It also gives you the current rate of material for each type of material coming out of the mine, on, in this case, an hour-by-hour basis. The phases, mining rates. This is open pit, so you can split the pit into mining phases. So this tells you the tonnage and ore and waste mine for each phase, for every whatever interval you want. This is a log of blasting. Just tells you when the blasts occur, how big the exclusion zone was, how long it took to move the shovel away from the face, the amount of broken rock generated by the blast, whether the blast had to be redone, and all that sort of information about each blast. This is just the haul road usage report by node, so it just tells you for each node how many trucks have gone over there, and just how it's been used. This is a log of all the mine delays and meetings that may have occurred during the year or the simulation. This is just a log of the speed restrictions events that may have occurred. Some simulations or mines, they slow the trucks down in wet weather to preserve the haul road pavement. This is just a log of when you have operating swaps. These are sections, places on the haul road where operators swap out, do hot seat changes. This is just a report on blending of different types of material through a fixed plant. Mainly used for the coal industry. You may want to blend two types of coal in a mine stockpile or something like that. And this is just a report on the current tonnes on the mine faces by different types of ore you may have on your mine faces. Mobile equipment reports. We'll just go down. So this is a report on each cycle. It's a good report. So for each truck cycle, how long the truck was travelling empty, how long it's travelling full, its average speed, its maximum speed, how long it was actually delayed in transit, it caught up to a slower truck in front, the tonnes it was carrying, the quality of the material or material attributes in each truckload, how long it was waiting to load, or how long it was waiting to dump, how long it took to dump, where it dumped, etc. All those sorts of information. It's a log for each cycle for each truck, if you specify your trucks, or you can just do it for a particular truck if you want to. This can get to be a large file pretty quickly. This is just a log of all when trucks went in for maintenance, planned maintenance, and also servicing. This is a log of truck load times. It also gives you how the load time is generated. Whether there's fill factor on the bucket, the density of the material, and all this sort of stuff. So it gives you how the load time is actually calculated for each truck. Truck trace. This is just in this case every hour. It just says for every truck you have in your fleet what it's actually doing, where it is, how many tonnes it's carried in this case in the last hour, and other information and status of the truck, whether it's broken down or whatever it may be in maintenance. Same with the diggers, where they are, what they're actually doing, how many trucks they've loaded in the last hour, because we've got the spec for hour here, and other information about individual each digger. Truck interactions. So this is just for each haul node, how much time has been lost by trucks interacting at that node, and often that node could be an intersection or something like that. So it's part of the congestion analysis you can do with TMS. These are trains, just a log of each train, its activities, how long it was travelling, empty, loaded, how long it took to load, etc. And this is a cycle. So for each actual train system, it tells you how long it took to travel from A to B and how many tonnes it was carrying, what type of material it was carrying, etc. This is a log of each grader, what it's been doing during the simulation, when it's been sitting around doing nothing, or it's actually grading, where it's been grading. Same with the tow trucks, when they get sent out to tow a broken down truck back to the workshop for repair. This is a log of breakdowns, where the trucks have been breaking down. It's not terribly useful because there's not much you can do about that, but it's just a log of where they break down. This is a log of the floats, where they're being dispatched and what equipment they're moved. A log of the water trucks, when they've been watering, how fast they've been travelling, their capacity, their level in their water tanks, etc. This is a report. It's a matrix for each truck loader combination. How many trucks have been, how many times a particular truck has been loaded by a specific loader, how long it took, and other information, just on a matrix form. This is a report on just the time individual trucks have been allocated to individual loaders. This is just a histogram, so it's just a histogram over a 24-hour period. So for every 24-hour period in a simulation, it accumulates this data and generates a histogram of, you know, how many trucks are operating, how many available, and all this sort of stuff. So it's mainly used for when you're doing analysis on shift breaks, shift change or crib breaks or what have you. You can see when you change the shift change methodology or process, you will see a change in the number of fleets, trucks operating during shift change. This is just a log of traffic density, so it's used for congestion analysis. This is mobile equipment location. It's just at each location, number of equipment at that particular section of haul road over time. Once again, can be used in haul road congestion analysis. These are all the fixed plant reports. This is a fixed plant level, so it's just a trace of tons in each piece of fixed plant. So it gives you a trace of how many tons are in a run-of-mine stockpile over whatever individual for every hour or whatever. This is a more detailed report of changes to the fixed plant. This report is usually used for looking at how things are changing in the simulation as far as fixed plant goes. Why, you know, the rate of material going to conveyor has changed. You can use this to look at, well, it's because the rate for the truck dump or whatever it may be. This is just a trace of when stockpiles are being reclaimed, what's caused the reclaim, how long they've been reclaiming for, what rate of reclaim is coming out of them. This is a log of the fixed plant plan maintenance schedules, not the schedule, but the impact on when plant's going down for plan maintenance. A log of tonnage and grade going into the stockpiles and coming out of the stockpiles. This is another histogram this is for the truck dump, so it tells you the rate of material going through the truck dump. So once again, you can use this for when you're doing changes to shift change or crib break, so you can see that by making this change, you see that the actual rate through the truck dump during shift change has gone up a bit, so that's been a positive thing. This is a log of product transported from product stockpiles. In the simulation, you can, if you have a mining operation delivering material to the product stockpiles, if those product stockpiles get full, the simulation naturally stops processing material because it's got nowhere to dump it, and trucks and loaders are stood down, etc. But if you don't want to, if you want to include how the product stockpiles are interacting with your mine, but you don't want to actually simulate your rail operation or your port operation, there's a functionality in TMS to actually set up a Mickey Mouse type. You know, these are when the interval between trains, and these are how long the trains are, and etc. And so the simulation kind of generates them, but it's not actually simulating the rail in full detail. And the same with the port. So this is a log of when, you know, stuff is transported away from your simulation, but not using the rail or port. This is a log of operating modes. So this is often operating modes often used in the coal industry. This is where you say this type of coal is going from a truck dump. So the operating modes, you know, moves a flop gate so it directs material to the wash plant, or moves a flop gate so it directs the material onto a conveyor, which then goes out to the product stockpiles because we don't wash this type of coal, or it may move another flop gate to direct the material onto domestic stockpiles or something. So these are all the operating modes that can occur throughout the simulation. This is just a trace of which ones are operating and when and why. This is just a log of the tons by material type on each of the stockpiles. good for doing traces and reports. And this is just a log of fixed plant access. This is where some run-of-mine stockpiles you may not get access to them for certain periods during the rainy season or something. So this is just a log of when those events have occurred. This is the railway reports. This is just a report on every wagon when it gets loaded and by what material and how much has been loaded. The same, this is a report of when they're dumped. And this is a report on each train. It's just a log of where the train is and what it's doing, how many wagons are attached, how many tons in each, total tons in the wagons, etc. This is for shipping. So this is a trace report of when just ships get created and their movements, general movements. This is the same sort of information but for each individual port when you have multiple ports in the simulation. This is a log of the ship loading, discharge. This is quite a good report. In fact, it tells you when the ship's arrived, how long it's spent at anchorage, how long it's taken to come into port, how many tugs that were used to come in, how long it was waiting to get loaded, how many tons were loaded, how many tons were discharged. If it was loaded, the grade of material loaded onto the ship, its loading rate or discharge rate, and times, how much time it waited after it finished discharge or loading for it departed the berth, underkill clearance and tides and stuff when it left the berth. Quite a bit of information about each individual ship that went through the port. And this is just a status. It's just for every hour or whatever. It's just for each berth. If there's a ship there or the berth's on planned maintenance, on the wave heights and tides and all the information, how many ships are waiting at the anchorage, etc. And this is just a log of when ships are created in the simulation. This report is generally used to look at when ships arrived and therefore compare that against how the pattern of actual ship arrivals at a particular port if you're actually simulating an existing report. So you can see that the simulation is generating the same ship arrival pattern as actuals. And these are some of the trace files. So the simulation trace file just captures virtually everything that's going on in the simulation. Usually you run this for a specific period because you're looking at something that's going on, some anomaly, or you want to trace down why something's happening. You can turn this report on and just generate it for that particular period. This is just a trace of how TKPH is calculated in the simulation for each particular truck. And this is a detail log of the truck acceleration calculations, how for each truck as it's travelling along, how the simulation is calculating the acceleration from the rimple and retard curves and haul road gradient and rolling resistance, the weight of the truck, etc. In the simulation you can specify a particular section of the haul routes or haul road network which you want to report on for some particular reason. So you can turn, this is that report you can turn on. For these particular five reports you can specify an individual piece of equipment and then it'll give you on every hour or minute or whatever, it'll give you the status of that equipment and also I'll pile attributes about the equipment, its current payload, its current carryback, its rolling resistance, and all this sort of information on that piece of equipment. Usually used to just track down if something's going a bit strange. Equipment location trace, it's just for each piece of equipment. Its activities it's actually doing at that particular time. This is a more detailed report. It's just by each segment of haul road. It tells you the speed of the truck when it entered the segment, and the speed of the truck when it exited the segment. It's the segment rolling resistance and gradient and the forces on the truck and etc. And then there's this more detailed one. This is actually a calculation of the speed calculation of the truck as it travels through on a haul road segment. So it actually gives you as it shows the truck accelerating or de-accelerating even within a segment of the haul road, not just at the nodes. It's actually a constant change of the truck speed as it travels through the haul road network. This is just a log of equipment on floats, when the floats are dispatched and what equipment they moved, or just a log of the water trucks, what they've been doing, their water tank levels, etc. over time. This is haul truck cycle speed, haul truck trace. This is a good little report because it's for every truck if you want to, or you can just specify an individual truck. It tells you for every cycle the truck done, how long it was travelling empty, its average speed, its maximum speed, its payload, if it's carrying carryback or something when it was empty. Also all the delays along when it's travelling along, when it's being delayed by another truck in front, and a slower truck in front, or being delayed at intersections. And it also tells you, where it got loaded, what digger loading unit loaded, how long it took to load, how many tons were loaded, and also the specifications of the material on which has been loaded into the truck, and also other information. So it's a good little report. You can pick up lots of information out of that report. And then there's a log of stacker reclaimers. So the simulation knows where each stacker reclaimer is on the rail, so you can get a log of where they are relative to each other and other information. And these are just a log of tons on each stockpile by material type over time. So this case it's every hour. Once you specify which reports you want and the interval and for what equipment, you then go back and you run your simulation. Once the simulation is finished, then you go into this option in the spreadsheet called Load Reports. And so here you can see the reports, the standard reports, and you can just specify yes or no if you want them loaded into your spreadsheet. So once you specify which ones you want, usually this just stays constant for the whole project, you just go select and load the reports into the simulation. So once the spreadsheet loads the report, it automatically comes up with this view reports. So these are the standard reports you can then look at. So in the case like KPIs, so this is a high level KPI report. So it's for mobile equipment, it's the activity based reporting. So most of these activities are automatically generated by the simulation. So in this case, it's truck spotting at the loader, how much percentage of calendar time it's spent at doing this activity, and also the average time in minutes it's been doing that, and also how many times it's done it, load it, and during the year in this particular case. So this is KPI report, so it's activity-based reporting for each of the individual trucks and loaders and diggers. So it's only these user-defined delays, like times the truck gets bogged, how many times it gets delayed due to grade control or something. These are the ones that are entered, defined in the simulation. The simulation doesn't automatically generate them. And then there's these other ones which are user-defined standby delays for trucks, like one stop, or when the truck's been used for training. So, but all the other ones are automatically generated by the simulation, including things like the regular maintenance, major maintenance. I mean, these are part of the schedule you put in there, maintenance schedule for the trucks. How much, in this case, how many times the truck's been waiting for repair, it's been broken down and been towed to the workshops, but then it's just sat out the front waiting for repair. How long it's been on breakdowns, and then mechanical availability, and then this, I'm not sure how those numbers got there, but it's very low level, litres. I don't think I'm tracing fuel levels in this particular simulation. And then tonnage by different types of material. The truck has actually moved during the year, and also the time it's spent doing that sort of activities, also how many times it's been loaded, single loaded or dual load, double side loading, TKPH values, etc. So once again, that's for the trucks, and also haul distance information, and then for the digging units, the graders, the water carts, dozers, and also material for the truck dumps, how many tonnes went through there, and also then the information for each piece of fixed plant, the tonnes gone through, it's the levels, maximum, how long it's been full, and also operational information about that particular piece of plant, fixed plant. And because this report changes depending on what you're simulating. So in this case we've got, you know, trucks and loaders, we've got lots of fixed plant, you know, tonnes through the conveyors and through the ship loaders in this particular case. Also information about you know, the stackers, how often they're slewed during the year, etc. Then also information about the ships, how long they've been spending at Fairway Big, and how long they've been waiting for tide or wind or whatever it may be, as well as a demurrage dispatch calculation using the standard method for dispatch demurrage calculation, and also, you know, the types of ships which were visited the port for this particular simulation, also information about the tugs and other information. So this is just a high level KPI report. It's often a good, when things aren't running as you expected, it's a good place to go and start looking for high level stuff. And so these are quite a few standard reports you generate. So this is other reports you can look at. So that's about it as far as it goes for defining reports in TMS. The only thing I'd like to add is that because TMS knows exactly what's going on in your operation, we can actually generate any report on the simulation. We can report on, you know, average truck speed around a particular corner, loaded and emptied, or any information, because the simulation knows exactly what's going on and we have access to report on anything we want. So that's the end of this video. Okay, thank you. Just before I finish, there's a couple of things I forgot to mention previously. As you'll see in the view reports, you'll see this thing called a client report. A client report is something where one of my clients will ask for a specific 1, 2 or 3 page report, which they design the report and I get the simulation to generate the same sort of report. So for each, when we run the simulation, we get a client report for each simulation. So it kind of more targets exactly what information they want so they can do their analysis. The other thing I didn't mention is that the KPI report, that's automatically generated. You don't actually ask for that. That's generated for every simulation run. So that's about it for now. Thank you.